Ntemba village rested where the red earth met the tall grass, a place shaped by sun, soil, and stories older than memory. At dawn, smoke curled gently from clay hearts as women swept their yards with palm brooms, drawing quiet patterns into the dust. Goats wandered freely, bells chiming softly, while children's laughter floated between mud-walled homes like birdsong. The village lived by rhythm. Drums marked celebrations and mourning alike. The elders gathered beneath the ancient baobab tree, its roots thick and twisted, said to hold the wisdom of those long gone. Here, disputes were settled, marriages were announced, and futures were quietly decided. The elders of Ntemba would later say the night the twins were born was not an ordinary night. The moon did not hurry across the sky. It lingered, round and heavy, as though it wished to witness something important. Thunder rolled far away, deep and slow, yet no rain fell. The air carried a stillness that made even the dogs uneasy. Inside a mud-walled hut, two cries pierced the silence. The first was soft, almost questioning. The second followed moments later, loud, sharp, demanding. The midwife wrapped the first child in cloth and studied his face. His breathing was steady. His eyes, when they opened, were calm and observant. "This one carries peace," she said. The second child fought the cloth, fist clenched, voice rising as if he already wished to argue with the world. They named the first Betrayal. They named the second Malik. From the moment they were placed side by side, the difference was clear, not in how they looked, but in how they were. As boys, Zubri and Malik ran the same paths through the village, chased the same goats, and learned the same lessons beneath the acacia tree where the elders gathered. Yet wherever they went, Zubri seemed to soften the air around him. He listened when others spoke. He noticed when someone was tired. When a child fell, it was Zubri who knelt beside them first. People did not praise him loudly, they simply trusted him. Malik noticed everything. He noticed how conversations leaned toward his brother. How laughter followed Zubri without effort. How even their father, Chief Baraka, a man who measured words carefully, looked at Zubri with quiet pride. Malik worked harder for attention. He spoke louder. He challenged others openly. But the more he pushed forward, the more the village seemed to step back. At night, lying beside his twin on a woven mat, Malik stared into the darkness and listened to Zubri's steady breathing. It made his chest tighten with something he did not yet have a name for. When the twins grew into young men, their father began to speak of legacy. "Wealth can be inherited," Chief Baraka said one evening, his voice low and thoughtful. "But leadership follows the heart." The fire cracked. Sparks flew upward. Malik felt the words strike him like a blade. He knew who the village would choose. That night, while Zubri slept peacefully, Malik lay awake, staring at the roof beams. A thought took shape in his mind, slow, frightening, and once formed, impossible to undo. Malik chose the forest because the forest erased footprints. "We should honor the ancestors," he told Zubri one morning, keeping his voice calm. Zubri smiled. "It has been too long. Let us go." They walked deeper than usual, past familiar paths, into thick growth where the trees grew close together and light struggled to reach the ground. The air became heavy, the silence loud. When they reached the vine-covered cliff, Malik stopped. Zubri turned to him. "Why here?" Malik's hands trembled. His heart pounded so hard he feared it would betray him. In a single, violent moment, he pushed. Zubri's cry echoed once before the forest swallowed it. Malik stood frozen, staring into the darkness below, listening. Nothing. He returned to the village with dust on his knees and grief painted across his face. "My brother is gone," he said. The forest took him. The village mourned. Drums beat through the night. Zubri was spoken of in past tense. When nobody was found, death was still accepted, because sometimes the forest kept what it claimed. Time moved on, as it always does. Malik stepped into Zubri's place. He inherited the land, the wealth, the responsibilities. Even Zubri's family came to accept him, though something in their eyes never fully settled. At night, Malik dreamed of falling. Zubri did not die. Branches broke his fall. Earth caught him when it should not have. When he woke, pain consumed him, and memory abandoned him. He did not know his name. Traders found him days later and carried him far from the forest. They called him Omori, a name given to a man who survives. With no past to return to, Omori learned to live forward. He watched how people traded, how trust was built, how systems worked. He failed often. He learned faster. Years passed. Omori crossed borders, built enterprises, and turned ideas into empires. Wealth followed him, but humility stayed. One evening, at a distant cultural festival, a drumbeat stopped him in his tracks. The rhythm struck something deep inside him. Memories came rushing back, the forest, the cliff, the moment his brother pushed him. His true name returned to him at last. Zubri. For several days, he kept to himself, thinking about what the memories meant. Now that he knew where he came from, he wondered if he was meant to go back. For a long time, he had refused to think about his past, focusing only on the life he had built. But the question would not leave him. He began to test his feelings. He went about his daily work and asked himself a simple question: if I left this place, would I be at peace? The answer unsettled him. He thought about the man he called Pa, the one who had taken him in, taught him how to live, and treated him like a son when he had no name and no memory. He thought about the people who had helped him heal, fed him, and trusted him. He imagined starting over in the land of his birth. The thought felt heavy, not hopeful. Still unsure, he went to Pa and told him everything about the festival, the drum, and the memories that had returned. Pa listened carefully before speaking. My child, he said, being born somewhere does not always mean you belong there. Home is the place that shaped you and stood by you when you had nothing. Listen to your heart, it already knows. Zubri looked around the place he had come to know as home, the familiar faces, the routines, the quiet sense of safety. That was when he understood the truth. This was home. But he also knew he needed to return to Ntemba, not to stay, but to face what had been done to him. He packed his belongings and began the journey. When he arrived in Ntemba, the village fell silent. Malik's face turned pale as the truth came out before the elders. No one spoke. Malik broke down. Zubri did not shout or accuse. I lost everything, he said calmly, but I also gained a life that cannot be taken from me. He forgave his brother, not because Malik deserved it, but because holding on to anger no longer served him. After that, Zubri left the village again, not as a lost man, but as someone who understood who he was and where he belonged. He returned to Pa, leaving the village once more, not as a victim, but as a man who had survived betrayal and turned it into destiny. And the Red Earth remembered them both. Zubri had been back with Pa for less than a season when the messenger arrived. The man carried dust on his clothes and worry on his face. He bowed and spoke plainly. Word has reached us from Ntemba. Malik is dying. Zubri did not answer at once. He thought of the life he had returned to, the steady home, the work of his hands, and the family waiting for him. He had a wife now, Abini, strong and patient, who had stood beside him even when his past returned without warning. Together, they were raising twins, a boy and a girl, children who carried his eyes and her calm strength. For them, he had chosen peace. That night, he told Pa and Abani about the message. Abani listened carefully. Go, she said. Not for him, but so our children never inherit unanswered questions. Pa nodded. Some things must be faced so they end with you. Before dawn, Zubri left again, promising his children he would return. When he reached Ntemba, the village did not greet him with anger or silence, but with fear. Malik lay weak on a mat, his body failing. When he saw Zubri, he wept. With the elders present, he spoke again, his voice breaking under the weight of what he had done. This time, his confession went further. After pushing Zubri from the cliff, Malik had sent word ahead to a passing trader, Pork, claiming his brother was dead. He had offered him gold to take the body if it survived and never speak of it again. Pork had refused. Instead, he followed the trail, found Zubri alive, and carried him away, never knowing his name, only that a man had been betrayed. The elders were shaken. Zubri turned to Pork. So all this time, he said, you were part of the beginning. Pork shook his head. I did not know who you were. I only knew who you needed to be saved from. Malik died before nightfall. The elders offered Zubri everything Malik had taken, his land, his wealth, his place in the village. Zubri refused. I have a wife, he said. I have children. I will not raise them on stolen ground or old lies. He asked only for one thing, that the truth be spoken openly, so no child of Ntemba would ever be taught that betrayal leads to reward. Zubri returned to Pork and to Abeni, to the twins who ran to meet him without fear or doubt. He did not return as a man divided between two worlds, but as one who had chosen the family he would protect. And the Red Earth remembered not just the brothers who were born there, but the father who refused to pass the wound forward. Why, in Tales by Momo May, every story is told to leave a lesson behind. The end.